Good morning or close to afternoon to all VCSU faculty, staff, students, alum, and friends. Welcome to our virtual artist talk here in McCarthy 356. My name is Professor Angela Mirso, who is also the director of the VCSU Gallery and department chair here. Today you will be seeing an artist talk by our art education senior, Shania Schooler. And she will be presenting her show on Ink Garden. So I hope you all enjoy. Please comment your questions on the live chat on YouTube so at the end we can do an interesting question and answering. Shania?
Okay. So I'm Shania Schooler. I am an art education student here at VCSU, and I'm going to be graduating in the spring. And my show is called Ink Garden. It is about tattoo art and florals. So I'll just get right into it. I am from Jamestown, North Dakota. My family has always encouraged my interest in the arts, especially my grandma, who often would tell me to keep drawing trees the right way versus the wrong way. My Aunt Shirley actually, which her dogs are pictured on the screen here. She is one of my biggest fans. She's always wanted pieces of my artwork and has always also encouraged me. And then in the middle there is a picture of my dad. He actually tried to buy one of my artworks when it was in the Stutzman County Fair, and he tried to be sneaky about it and tried to get the person to not tell his name, but I asked questions. I was like, did he look like this and this? And she was like, yep. And I was like, okay, that's my dad. One of the things that you'll find in this show is that I am a lover of animals, so there's a few animals in my show. My aunt's dog, my dog, and my cat are featured. So while I was looking at my show and what I wanted to do, I was brainstorming ideas. I've been doing this since my freshman year of college here. So my first thought was I really like succulents. So I was going to do a show about succulents and florals and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what the first painting was about. And then I thought, well, I kind of want to do something that's sweet versus creepy. And that kind of went into paintings, drawings, and embroidery, because when you think of embroidery, you often think of grandma pictures or little tiny pastel florals that they do. But as time went on, I decided not to do that. And then I went and thought about doing anatomical drawings, which would feature skulls and bones and hearts and all that kind of stuff. And that's still kind of what the show is, but more so I went into tattoo style. So why did I choose tattoos? First off, the tattoo industry is fascinating to me. I watched LA Ink with Kat Von D with my dad when I was growing up, and tattoos were never taboo to me, maybe to my mom, but not to me, my dad, and my brother. I actually have 4 of them now, which 2 of them are on screen. And then that's a picture of me getting my leg tattoo. I also wanted to do a tattoo drawing exhibition because art education was originally my backup plan. I wanted to be a tattoo artist. And I went to college to have art education as a degree, just something to fall back on. But then when I was here, I eventually started to fall in love with teaching young minds about art. And then also my grandma and my aunts are teachers, so they kind of influenced me when I saw how they had an impact on their students. And then also another reason why I decided to do tattoos is because a lot of my art was already comparable to tattoo styles. So like my compositions and the way I laid out all my drawings, they resemble tattoo artwork, where there's a center image, and then there's some sort of border, where in my case it's florals, and then that raven print or drawing that I have on there that I eventually turned into a print is my next tattoo that I want to have. So I decided to draw my own tattoo because I was like, well, I'm an artist. What kind of artist would I be if I didn't draw my own tattoo that I wanted? Okay. So before I go into the rest of my show, I wanted to do a little background of tattoos throughout history. One of the first known tattoos that they have found is Otzi the Iceman. He was a mummy found in the Alps, and he had tattoos all over his body, almost like basically 61 tattoos that he had. They were all small, and that's what that first picture is that there are some of his tattoos. You can see that they're lines, they're dot work. They didn't really resemble much, but they think that since they were placed along the acupuncture points, they might be a spiritual type of thing. Another thing where tattoos have been seen is that they were seen in ancient Egypt. They were primarily on women and like on their hands. And they were primarily for women who took part in rituals. So that also shows how spiritual body modifications have traditionally been. And then I have a picture of a old Navy man, I think, with all of his tattoos. And back then, like, tattoos used to be seen as taboo in society, whereas today we're starting to see that reclamation back of how they are starting to be seen more as art. Yep. Going into my inspirations, this Paul Jackson has been a long time inspiration of mine. I actually found him when I was in high school, and I loved that he used skulls and kind of made it kind of creepy. He used anatomical features and figures to create his drawings. He also, if you can't tell, because I know it's an image and it's not really close up, but it's made out of dots. It's not like lines or shading, it's all dots, which is something that I thought was really interesting and I really liked from him. That my next inspiration is Glenn Arthur. He often works with acrylic washes and watercolors on wood panels. He does a lot of flowers with women or some sort of feature, but it's primarily his main figure is women. And I kind of took that too into my show, where I wanted to have a main figure and then have florals around it. So into the process, I have the graphite and color pencil drawings. This is sun-touched. I did graphite with the torso of the skeleton, and then I did color pencil with the sunflowers. There's a process picture of my dog there, and he's sleeping like he always used to. This is where like one of my thoughts of doing anatomical drawings and florals came to be. Okay. Another one of my processes is ink drawings. This is striation. This is a permanent marker or ink drawing. I use a lot of cross-hatching and hatching and flowing lines, which hatching is just lines, and then cross-hatching is where there's just a bunch of X's on top of each other. And I just used a heart just because I really liked how they looked, and I liked how they kind of symbolized love and then I used roses to do that too. The next one I have is my lino block print, which is the one that I want to get tattooed. It's based off of Game of Thrones, which is like one of my favorite book series. And it's a lino block, so like it prints, if as you can see, like the first image is my sketch, but then when I printed it, it flipped. So they print opposite of what I carve and like what I originally drew. So you carve into a linoleum block, and it can either be soft or hard, and it creates the white space / lines you see. Everything that is color is what I did not carve. And I just lay ink on top of that with my brayer, and then I put it on paper and it prints the image. And then this is just the addition of my prints. Unfortunately, they all don't look the same, but I still really liked how they all turned out. I loved that they looked handmade and everything. And this, another one that I did are the dry points. So I did 2 dry points. One is the Love Mom, and then the other is Handle with Care. And these are etchings on plexiglass, so I carved into them, and then the ink lays into the spaces that I carved after I wiped away all the rest of the ink. And then I print them going through a press after I soak the paper, and then this is what it turns out to be. And like those are the tools in the middle of what I used. Some people use X-Acto knives. Some people use like actual tools meant for it. And then I also have my digital illustrations. So there's a little video of my process of how I got all my line work done. And this one is of Amalthea. She is from The Last Unicorn, which is an old movie that I used to love and rent from the library all the time. I decided to add digital illustration into my show because I've always been interested in it. I got an iPad over the summer, so I started experimenting with that, and then as I got more comfortable, I was like, okay, let's do this. I really like how these are turning out. I'll put them in my show. This one is named Hemlock. It is of my cat Mocha, which that is my reference picture right there. I did line work, and I used contour lines, which are the lines that surround it, and then the colors. I decided to use hemlock flowers because she is a black cat, and they're traditionally seen as witchy cats. The next one is Beauty in Decay. This is a pen drawing. It's 14 by 17 inches, and I created it last spring. Or not last spring, the spring of 2019. This is one of my favorites, actually. I just really liked how it turned out. I used a lot of cross-hatching and hatching in this, and I also, if some people from the art department might recognize this skull because it was used in a lot of our still lives that we do. And then the roses are just my own creation. The next one I have is First Love. This is of my dog, who I got when I was in 4th grade. He's been there pretty much throughout my whole life. He was my best friend. And then, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but I included him, and I used sunflowers because I love sunflowers. They're one of my favorite flowers, and then he was my favorite dog that I had. So I wanted to include this in there, and that's why I named this image First Love, and there's a picture of him too on there. So what's next for me? I plan to student teach. I'm looking forward to building relationships with students, and I hope to incorporate a classroom where learning and experimenting is celebrated. And then graduation. I'll be graduating in spring of 2021. Hopefully it'll be in person this year, but we'll see. And then my hopes and dreams. I included 2 pictures from my travels because traveling always inspires me, and I kind of want to be an amateur photographer as I travel and take cool pictures like these. I hope to be in the Fargo-Moorhead area when I graduate, and I'm starting to fall in love with Fargo-Moorhead area, and every time I visit there, it's like, oh, I want to live here, but we'll see what happens. I'll go wherever the jobs are too. I also hope to try out different techniques of my art, like gouache, which is kind of like watercolor, but it's a thicker paint, so it goes on a little bit more opaque. I want to try oil painting, but we'll see because that is more expensive. I want to do screen printing because I did not get a chance to do that while I was here due to COVID, unfortunately. And then again, I want to try photography again because I just really like that. And yep. So, are there any questions?
Yes. Yes, there are. So, Shania, which piece or pieces are your favorite and why?
Well, I really liked First Love, as I said. I also really liked Beauty and Decay because I just liked the composition and the time that it took. I put a lot of time into that one, so I thought that I ended up loving it because I put so much time into it. I also really like Obsession because that is going to be my next tattoo, so I should like it. And I like the two color print that I did with it.
Awesome. Which piece in the gallery almost didn't make the cut and why?
That's a good question. I almost did not put floating in, even though that is a couple people's favorites. I almost didn't put that one in just because I didn't think it really fit. I actually kind of used it as a filler to fill in my show to have more artwork up.
Do you have a favorite art medium? What is it and why?
Oh gosh. I tend to do more drawing, whether it be digital or like traditional, but painting is also good because I like working with a different medium sometimes, and it's kind of fun to see something be created over time. Oh, as far as a favorite, I really don't know. I would have to say drawing just because I do that the most, so I must like it more.
That might change in 5 years, right?
Who knows?
So, can you usually predict which of your pieces receive the most positive reception, or are you usually surprised by people's favorites?
I was kind of surprised with this show on what their favorites are. Like, some people really liked floating when that almost didn't make the cut. I didn't really like it at first, but I've grown to love it. There was another one, which is Guess How Much I Love You. That was one of the first animal drawings that I did, so I didn't really like it. But a lot of people like that one. So that one was actually kind of a shock to me. Yeah.
And what has been one of your biggest challenges as an artist?
Probably overcoming like perfectionism and trying to overcome like me remembering that not everything can be perfect or how I want it to be, and just kind of being happy with with what I end up creating.
And do you draw portraits for commission? I have a...
Sure.
Sure.
I've always wanted to. I just never got around to doing it, but sure, I'll do it.
And what are your biggest non-art inspirations?
Oh my gosh. Probably my best friend. She's one of my inspirations because she always like keeps me going, keeps me motivated. As far as like famous people, oh gosh, I don't even know. I used to do a lot of art for like the music I listen to. So music, I guess, is like one of my inspirations as far as a not personified person. Yeah.
Because there's also the book series, because you talk
Oh
about
yeah, Game of Thrones. I love George R.R. Martin. He's a pretty good writer. I'm still waiting for that next book. It's been 10 years, but it'll be here soon. He's working on it. Yeah, that is an inspiration. I never thought I'd be one of those people that would really like a certain series as much as that one. Like some people really liked Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings, and then that one's mine.
And do you have a more difficult time coming up with new ideas for your art, or do you feel it's more difficult to follow through with ideas?
It's kind of like even, because coming up with new ideas, sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes they'll just come to you. Sometimes you have to really, really think on them. Like, kind of like writer's block. I get artist block. But going through with them, sometimes I'll get really motivated and I'll work on them a lot right away, and then I'll put them to the side because I have other things going on, and then I just kind of forget about it sometimes. That's the nice thing about school, is that it kind of makes you go back to them if they're going to be a project. So
I guess this is a question I'll have is, what do you do with your failed projects?
I have a tendency to keep everything,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure my boyfriend probably doesn't like, because I have my workspace at home is pretty messy. But yeah, I have a tendency to keep everything, even if I don't really like it. Like it's either in a sketchbook or in like a bag somewhere.
And what is your advice to students who think they are not creative enough to pursue art?
You just kind of like go through your own inspirations, like go to them, like if you don't think you're creative enough, like sometimes I have those doubts too. So it's just like you think about like, what do you like, what do you love? And then sometimes like just get inspired by those things and just maybe either do a recreation of them or do something inspired by it. And then also like just practice in your skills, because sometimes you think that you're not good enough, and I think that too. But I also know that throughout time, like I used to draw stick figures, but I continued to work on it, and now I can draw portraits of people that are pretty realistic, I would say, or close to being realistic. So it's just kind of like you got to be patient with yourself, because things sometimes don't come to you, sometimes they do. I wouldn't say it's a natural talent, it's just something you work on.
And I have a question, because most of the work here in the gallery is for sale, right?
Yes, except for Obsession.
Because someone was asking if you're going to do another show to sell just your artwork in the future?
We'll see what happens. I hope to have another show at some point. It is a lot of work though, so that with also being with teaching, it might be a while.
And what advice do you have for students who will have their shows in a couple of semesters, current VCSU students?
Don't leave everything to last minute. I did a little bit of that. Like I had half of my show done, but then half of it I kind of left to this semester. So don't do that. Also, like this is your first show, so it might not be entirely what you envisioned as your first show. So just be patient with yourself. People are gonna like it no matter what. So also be nice to yourself. Don't be so hard. Yeah.
What advice do you have for all the current art majors, like freshman art majors, for their years here at VCSU? What advice would you give them right now?
Just have fun. If you're in the dorms, kind of stay in the dorms. I wish I did that. That was a lot of fun. Spend time with your friends, especially like after COVID, like pre-COVID, like I love to spend time with my friends, and that was a lot of fun. As far as art, if you really want to be an art major, spend a lot of your time up here because there are some pretty cool people up here, and they're pretty fun to be around and talk to, and you'll make probably some lifelong friends.
How long does it take you to complete a piece of an average?
I guess it kind of depends on what it is, if it's a painting, and how big it is. For the ones that I have, my line drawings and my digital drawings did not take that long. I kind of got them done pretty quick, but when it came to like my more traditional drawings, those took me probably altogether 6 hours. I'm kind of a fast person when it comes to drawing and painting. I don't know if that's just my impatience or not. My paintings, I think, take a lot longer just because you have to wait for them to dry.
And what is the main message you try to portray in your work right now?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I haven't really thought much about that. Mainly that like I just want tattoos to not be seen as such a bad thing. That they can be fine art even if they're on somebody's skin. I mean, I'm going to be an educator, so I'm kind of probably a little bit more on the progressive side of tattoos since I'll have them and some people aren't for them on more professional people. So I'm just kind of like hoping that people see tattoos as more of a traditional or not fine art kind of thing rather than something that can be taboo.
And what do you hope people will take away from your show right now?
I guess kind of the same message. Hopefully they take away some artworks. That'd be pretty nice. I don't know. I just hope that they like what they see.
To have fun?
Yeah, pretty much. Because that's what I did with this, is I just kind of had fun. I experimented with everything. I experimented in the traditional and the digital. Like I'm not too big on the printmaking part of it, so that was kind of fun to do.
And I know you're graduating come spring. Are you hoping to come back when the new building's finished?
Yes, I want to see it. I definitely want to see it. After COVID, of course, but I want to see it. just because I've been in this old building all 4 years. Kind of want to see like all the new stuff.
What are you going to miss from VCSU?
I'll miss the people. There's a really great sense of community here that I really will miss. I wish I was on campus more this semester, but of course COVID. So yeah, I'll miss all the events and all the fun people.
And someone asked, have you drew any views of the Jamestown Reservoir?
Have I drawn any of them? No, but I do have pictures on my phone of it, just for fun, from when I went out there. I actually, even though I'm from Jamestown, I never really went out to the reservoir that often.
Do you have a new series you're hoping to start soon?
A new series?
Of artworks?
Ooh. I don't really know. I was kind of so focused on this show for so long. I've been focusing on doing more digital art, I'd say, and working with color more than just the line work. I'm more so just practicing and doing that before I get comfortable with it.
And then someone asked, where can a person go online to view the art for sale?
You can go to my website. It's all linked there, and then I guess I don't really have a way to buy them from the website.
Do you have an email?
Yeah, I have an email. You can email me at this shania.aschooler@vcsu.edu on if you want to buy them or not. And I think my email was linked in the, or not my email, my website was linked in the email, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I'll put a link up on
On that? Okay.
the YouTube chat and onto the Facebook and Instagram page. Are you hoping, I know you've done mostly 2D, would you ever do 3D artwork?
I really need to practice more with ceramics. I'm not where I would want to be with knowing about it, but in one of the pictures that I had a clay heart up, and I really liked that one. I thought that was a lot of fun to do. Yeah, I'd probably be interested in doing 2D. Probably do it a lot more with my students though.
And then, is there anything you haven't made in art that you would want to make? Like, is there like an idea that's like, oh, I really want to make this, but I haven't done it yet?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. Again, that just kind of goes into like the techniques that I want to try.
Looks like there's no more questions coming from the chat. I guess, any last words you want to give, Shania, before we close up to the viewers?
I hope you enjoyed. How do YouTubers usually end these? I don't know. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you get a chance to come up here and see them, I really encourage that. Otherwise, I have all my artworks up on my website, or there was a virtual tour that I did that is up on the VCSU Facebook page. Or art department Facebook page, right? Okay. Yeah, there's that one. If you have any further questions, you can contact me through email or anything. I think my Instagram is public, so you could probably DM me. I don't know. I'm pretty open right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Shania. And thank you very much. And I will state this, I will miss seeing you here next semester when you go student teach. So I wish you the best with student teaching, and hopefully an in-person graduation come May. I'm crossing my fingers for everybody. So again, Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I also want to say thank you to Eric Kringley and his crew for putting on this live streaming. I want to thank Shania for her hard work for the past 4 years. She did an amazing, awesome job. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who's asked questions. Again, please, if you can come up, there is a guest book. Please sign if you're on campus. It would be greatly appreciated. If you can't, email Shania. She would like to hear the responses. So thank you all. Stay tuned for our next show in February with our visiting artists, and look for more information come spring semester. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and go Vikings!